Okay, welcome to this section 16, Rahula, A-level Buddhism, Anthology, text on the Bodhisattva ideal in Buddhism. We're getting there. Section 16 of 23, I think. Here we go. In the Theravada tradition, these are known as bodhis, but not yanas. The Upasaka Janalankara, a Pali treatise dealing with the ethics for the lay Buddhist, written in the 12th century by a Thura called Ananda in the Theravada tradition of the Mahavihara and the Pura Sri Lanka, says there are three bodhis: the Savaka Bodhi, Sanskrit Sravaka Bodhi, Pakya Bodhi, Sanskrit Pratya Bodhi, and Sam Bodhi, Sanskrit Samyak Sam Bodhi. A whole chapter of this book is devoted to the discussion of these three bodhis in great detail. It says further that when a disciple attains the bodhi, the enlightenment, he's called a Savaka Buddha, Sanskrit Stravaka Buddha. Okay, why does Rahula here refer to the Theravada tradition? Well, this is more arguing for authority. I'm right because I belong to this tradition, and this tradition is right. Well, because it is this tradition, and it's just original and proper Buddhism. It's circular reasoning from authority, as typically happens in the East. Nothing more really can be said. So why bodhis but not yanas? And what's the significance? Bodhis but not yanas. Well, bodhi is thought of as a practice, a legitimate practice, but not a whole way, a whole separate religion, a whole separate yana. There's only really one yana, remember, but there are different ways of doing that yana. The attempt to redefine the yanas as mere practices or bodhis of the one true yana, here the essential Buddhism, here has been made. It's more about claiming that whatever we practice in the end, if it doesn't lead to nibbana, as Theravada think it should, it's not the best way. And remember, Mahayana aren't intending to get to nibbana, probably. Trying to deny Mahayana religious truth claims kind of inclusively by saying they're not really making the truth claims they say they're making is a very clever sidestep when you redefine the language. This was kind of happened, to give a synoptic link, in the verification debates, when you just, rather than saying God doesn't exist, you said, well, the word God is not meaningful. And you could kind of sidestep the whole debate that way. This is an attempt to do an end run around Mahayana arguments. Your yana isn't really a yana, it's a practice. And the essential Buddhism it relies on, the efficient salvation that it relies on, is Theravada in nature. So what is this book, the Upasaka Janalankara? Well, by you get this, the Lankar, Sri Lanka, means the ornament of lay followers. So Upasanka, the ornament, lay followers, Janal. And in medieval Pali literature, it's a manual based on perhaps the Buddha's teaching aimed at the laity. What is Rahula doing? He's arguing again from authority, preaching to the choir, now perhaps talking to Theravada Buddhists, and using a Pali treatise dealing with the ethics of laity, as such, is a kind of dog whistling. It's a here I am. I'm this is I'm quoting a 12th century Thera, called Ananda, in the, let's say it again, Theravada tradition, because if I say it often enough, you have to believe me. Where? Well, at the center of all authority, the great Vihara, the capital of Sri Lanka, and the Pura. Doesn't get any more prestigious than that. You might as well say Vatican City, the seat of ex cathedra of the Pope. So there, it must be true. Well, is it? What is the meaning and the origin of this term Sama Sambodhi? Sama Sambodhi, and in Sanskrit, Samyaka Sambodhi. Well, we've come across these words. Notice the subtle change now to include this word Bodhi, Bodhi, Bodhi. What we don't have is Bodhisattva. So again, we have three Bodhis. The way the listener, the Savaka, would be Stravaka. So this is what the good Theravada student does. And we have the way of the private Buddha who can't then tell others, Prakya Buddha or the Pakya Buddha. And then the Buddha, so the universal Buddha. Now, no Bodhisattva here. All we have is this third, and we've bracketed out the notion of Bodhisattva already. So the perfect enlightenment, this word means perfect enlightenment, a universal Buddhahood. So he can universally teach everyone a universal truth. That is what the Buddha Samaya Sambuddha means. He has discovered the liberating law like a Prakya Buddha, but which was lost to the world, and he's realized it, and he has the ability to clearly proclaim it to the world. So this text of the Theravada tradition says there's no Bodhisattva, there's only the Sama Sambodhi, or the way, and so follow the logic, he says, that just leads to Theravada. Obviously. Really, does it? So what does Rahula mean in claiming the whole chapter of this book is devoted to the discussion of these three Bodhis, Remember, he's quoting an anthology itself, a collection of other polemical, argumentative, evangelistic writings of Theravada, who are going to say, well, there's different Bodhis, but they all have the same Theravada essence of salvation, the same efficient salvation. There aren't different salvations. There's only one, and it's by gum, it's Theravada. So this is yet more coercive argumentation that's non-persuasive. It's just coercive. That the Mahayana identity statements, whatever words they use, the essence, if it's efficient, is Theravada, of the salvation they receive. It's not a Bodhisattva, it's a Buddha. There is no Bodhisattva, really. Being awakened to the three poisons and escaping samsara for nibbana is the essential goal of all Buddhists, even if they explicitly say otherwise. What does Rahula mean when a disciple attains the Bodhi, the enlightenment he calls Savaka Buddha? This last bit, the Bodhi, and the disciple attains the enlightenment he calls a Savaka or a Stravaka Buddha. Now here we get the word Buddha used, not just Bodhi, Stravaka Buddha. A disciple attains. Again, this is about what he's claiming. So this 12th century text says there's not three yanas, three different salvations. There's only one salvation, but different ways of getting to it. There's private Buddha, there's a disciple Buddha who listens, or there's teaching Buddha. What this Bodhisattva lark is, well, forget that. And he's claiming that the only essentially successful salvation is through the 4-stage Arhat path. Notice he hasn't argued to it. He just quoted other people who agree with him. And that's just typical. There's never any argumentation. It's just misusing and abusing, it seems, and proof texting other people. So, contra the Mahayana teaching of the Lotus Sutra, it doesn't end in some magic city. The 7 analogies of the Lotus Sutra, contra their polemic of the 2nd century. No. It does end. This is an assertion. It ends in a truth and a reality that is Nibbana. But it doesn't actually argue it, give evidence for it. It's just yet louder claims that it does what it says in the tin, by gum, because other people said it does what it says in the tin. If you listen as a Stravaka and then you practice what you're supposed to be told to practice, then you will realize Nibbana. You will be a Bodhi. Okay, so this was section